You're deep in the Arctic. The sun hasn't risen in days. It's -40 outside, and there's not a single heater or power line for miles. Yet, inside a dome made entirely of snow, a family is not just surviving, they're warm. How? The Inuit people have lived in one of the harshest environments on Earth for thousands of years. No central heating, no electricity, just knowledge passed down through generations, carved out of pure necessity, and tested by life or death conditions. And the igloo, often seen as a snow fort for kids, is actually a marvel of survival engineering. But the igloo alone isn't the full story. What truly kept the Inuit warm was a brilliant system of tricks and techniques, smart construction, clever use of materials, and a deep understanding of how to live with the cold instead of fighting it. Today, we're diving into 10 powerful Inuit tricks to stay warm inside an igloo. No gas, no electricity, no problem. These methods not only work, but they also show the kind of genius that can come from living in harmony with nature. So grab a cup of something hot. This is going to get chillingly fascinating. And if you love stories about survival, tradition, and human ingenuity, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. We've got plenty more coming your way. Not all snow is created equal, at least not when you're trying to stay alive in it. The Inuit knew that the key to building a warm igloo started with the right kind of snow. Fresh, powdery snow might look pretty, but it won't hold a shape or trap heat. What you need is wind-packed snow, dense, compressed, and already partially hardened by the Arctic elements. It's this kind of snow that cuts into solid blocks, each one acting like a brick with built-in insulation. The trick is using a snow knife, often made from bone or later metal, to slice these blocks from the top layer of a wind-packed drift. Once the perfect pieces are carved, they're stacked in a spiral pattern, locking into place without mortar. The tight fit minimizes gaps where heat could escape and cold air could creep in. It's not just smart, it's survival architecture at its best. The right snow turns a death trap into a life-saving shelter. At first glance, the igloo's rounded shape looks artistic, almost whimsical, but make no mistake, the dome is a masterclass in function over form. The curved structure does something incredible. It keeps the warm air in and the cold air out. When you stack snow blocks in a spiral that narrows at the top, the walls support each other, locking the heat inside like a thermal bubble. There are no sharp corners for heat to gather and escape. Instead, warm air circulates gently, evenly distributing the temperature throughout the space. It's also insanely strong. The dome shape can handle the heavy weight of snow and withstand high winds without caving in. That matters when you're out in the open Arctic, where weather doesn't just change, it attacks. And here's the genius part. As body heat or oil lamps warm the inside, the inner layer of snow slightly melts and then refreezes, sealing cracks and making the igloo even tighter over time. The way you enter an igloo plays a big role in how warm it stays inside. Instead of a simple door or flap, the Inuit designed a low, tunnel-like entrance that dips below the main living space. This wasn't just for convenience, it was a calculated move. Since cold air sinks, the sunken entryway acts like a cold trap, keeping the chilly air confined to the lower part of the tunnel and stopping it from rushing into the main area every time someone enters or exits. The entrance is often curved or slightly angled to block wind, and it's just big enough to crawl through. That might sound uncomfortable, but it serves a clear purpose. Less space for cold air to move in and less warm air lost when the entrance is used. By controlling airflow from the start, the igloo stays warmer for longer, even with people coming and going. Warmth is important, but without fresh air, an igloo can quickly turn dangerous. Despite being built to trap heat, igloos always include at least one small ventilation hole near the top. This opening might seem counterproductive, but it's vital. Without it, moisture from breath and body heat builds up, creating damp air that chills the body and freezes overnight. Worse, without ventilation, there's a serious risk of carbon dioxide buildup, especially if an oil lamp is burning inside. The Inuit understood that fresh air doesn't mean cold air. By keeping the vent small and placing it high, it allows just enough airflow to keep the air inside safe and dry, while preserving most of the heat below. If snow covered the hole during a storm, it was routinely checked and cleared. This simple maintenance step kept the air breathable and the environment livable. In a sealed snow shelter, that small hole can mean the difference between comfort and real danger. When temperatures drop far below zero, layering up isn't just helpful, it's essential. For the Inuit, animal skins and furs weren't just clothing. They were part of the shelter itself. Inside the igloo, the cold snow walls needed an extra layer to make the space more livable. Caribou hides, prized for their lightweight yet thick fur, were often laid out on sleeping platforms and floors. These skins trap air in their hollow hairs, making them incredibly effective at retaining body heat. Seal skin and other pelts were also used for bedding, wall coverings, and even to divide space inside the igloo. Layering these natural insulators over the snow walls helped reduce radiant heat loss and made the interior feel less damp and cold. For clothing, fur-lined hoods, mittens, and boots created a head-to-toe barrier that kept warmth in. Every part of the animal was used with purpose, nothing wasted. These materials weren't luxury, they were survival tools passed down through generations of trial and error. One of the most effective heat sources in an igloo isn't fire or oil, it's people. The Inuit knew that the human body gives off enough heat to warm up a small, well-insulated space. So, the more people inside an igloo, the warmer it got. Family members often slept close together, using their combined body heat to create a stable, comfortable temperature in the living space. The design of the igloo makes this possible, with snow walls that trap heat and a low ceiling to prevent it from rising too far. Body warmth accumulates quickly. After a few hours, temperatures inside can rise from below freezing to just above, even in the coldest weather. Everything inside was designed to support this process. Thick furs to hold heat, small interior space to reduce air volume, and limited airflow to retain warmth. It was a communal effort. Survival wasn't about one person toughing it out alone. It was about people helping each other stay warm. Even in the coldest places, connection mattered. In the Arctic, firewood doesn't exist. So how did the Inuit get light and heat? They used something ingenious: the Qulliq, a traditional oil lamp. This shallow, curved stone lamp was fueled with seal or whale blubber and topped with a wick made from moss or Arctic cotton. When lit, it provided a steady flame that gave off both light and heat. In the absence of electricity or even candles, the Qulliq was a lifeline. While small, one or two of these lamps were enough to raise the temperature inside an igloo by several degrees. And unlike an open flame, the Qulliq burns low and efficiently, producing minimal smoke when used correctly. It could run for hours, even days, with a steady supply of fat. The Inuit placed it carefully, often near the entrance or slightly recessed into a wall to distribute warmth without risk. It also helped dry clothing, melt snow for water, and prepare small meals. This simple lamp was more than a tool. It was the heart of the home during the long, dark Arctic winter. Inside an igloo, space is limited, so every inch counts. The Inuit arranged their interiors with warmth and practicality in mind. Sleeping areas were placed on raised platforms toward the back, where heat naturally gathered. The center was kept clear for movement and for the oil lamp, which acted as the room's main heat source. Items like clothing, tools, and food were stored around the edges, sometimes tucked into small snow shelves carved into the walls. Keeping things organized and close meant less time spent moving around and letting cold air mix in. Even small barriers made from hides were sometimes used to divide the space, reducing airflow and keeping specific areas warmer, especially around where people slept. With smart layout choices, the heat stayed concentrated where it was needed most. This wasn't random design. It was efficient and intentional. The right organization inside the igloo helped stretch every bit of warmth, even in the dead of winter. An igloo isn't a set-it-and-forget-it kind of shelter. It needs regular care to stay effective. The Inuit kept a close eye on their igloos, especially after heavy wind or snowfall. cracks, or tiny holes could let in drafts and quickly drop the temperature inside. So part of staying warm was simply checking for weak spots and patching them with fresh snow, pressed in by hand and allowed to freeze solid. Another trick was taking advantage of how heat naturally strengthened the structure. As the interior warmed slightly from body heat and lamps, the inner surface of the igloo would melt just a bit. When it refroze, it created a smooth, hard shell that sealed gaps and made the walls even more airtight. This constant tuning, adding snow here, smoothing ice there, wasn't just about comfort. It was a way to keep the space safe, warm, and stable for days or even weeks at a time. Staying warm wasn't passive. It was part of the daily routine. The idea of surviving in a house made of snow might seem impossible, but it was reality for the Inuit. They thrived. Their techniques were the result of generations of careful observation, resourcefulness, and respect for the environment. Each trick, from choosing the right snow to organizing the living space, was rooted in real-world necessity. There were no second chances in the Arctic. Everything had to work, and it had to work well. What might look simple to an outsider was actually a complex, highly effective system that kept families alive in temperatures most of us can't even imagine. And maybe that's the biggest lesson. Warmth doesn't always come from fire or machines. Sometimes it comes from knowledge, design, and working with nature instead of against it. If you found this fascinating, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more deep dives into traditional survival wisdom and human innovation. And drop a comment. What trick surprised you the most? Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay inspired, and stay warm.